Good afternoon. The Design Review Board number 2 public meeting of July 21st, 2011 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a particular project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff in order to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that all appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Board members Baladian.
Here.
Garagos.
Here.
Malikian.
Here.
Sakai.
Here.
Zarifian. Mr. Zarifian is absent this evening. Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on July 14th, 2011. Oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. I have no oral communication cards. Chairman Malikian?
Oh, we do not have any.
None. Which brings us to the review calendar. There is one staff announcement, and that would be that there is a joint Design Review Board meeting regarding the North Glendale Community Plan next Thursday on July the 28th, starting at 5 p.m. All Design Review Board members, those from Boards 1 and 2, are invited to attend. Oh, and there is an additional joint Design Review Board meeting also the following Thursday on August the 4th as well. With that said, there are no items on tonight's consent calendar. We have 2 items on the regular calendar. I would like to turn the meeting over to Chairman Malikian.
All right, thank you. The first item, I do have a card, but if my colleagues have no objections, I would like to entertain a motion without opening. And we can state the address or the number, which is 1 PDR 2011-024A, 3410 Downing Avenue for audience. Well, there are 2 conditions that staff recommended, which
The board also received a letter of support of the
supporting
packet.
of the package.
I don't have a problem with it, but would that include wouldn't we have to open in order to have the recommendation?
Well, I mean, if we want to have a discussion with the applicant, then we can, but I was going to just suggest that we should just agree with the 2 comments and
I'm just asking, we're able to do that if we just bring it up? We can include the...
If the card is from the applicant and the applicant has no problem with you approving the project, then in the way that
Problem
you're...
of approving the
We bring
project?
it up.
I don't think he does.
you-
No, if we
you-
bring it up and add the conditions in, or do we have to open in order to add
You-
your conditions?
No, you don't have to open it. You can make the motion with the conditions.
Right. Okay, we're done. Well, just for the record, project architect Franco Noravin had placed a card, and we're not going to open that, so we're just going to go with the motion and with the, if we have a motion.
I have a motion to approve with the conditions, the stuff.
Do we have a second? I mean, if you guys want, I mean, we can go on and...
Looking at the project.
Oh, okay.
I'd want her to be comfortable with it. No, if you're comfortable or not. Do you want to open it or not?
Did you receive the packet?
I did not receive the
Oh, you
packet.
did not
I
receive the
looked
packet.
online, but I didn't have time to really understand it.
And if that's the case, then do you want me to open it and have the architect come out and have a question?
Blueprint is
Was there a reason that Mr. Kai didn't get the packet?
Is there appears to have been sort of glitch in the post office because all
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just switch the order.
I don't understand.
the order of
But she would still need to look at it, so even if I switch it, then would you like to second that, Mr. Garagos? And then so we can go ahead and...
Switch the order or approve it?
No, not the order, because
Approve it?
even if I switch the order, she still needs to have the time to review it. I don't want to put you in a bind. I mean, we can go ahead and switch it and then give it a 5-minute break and then...
Well, I just wanted to make sure that, because this didn't, there was one elevation, the elevation.
Just, let's switch it to, give her 5 minutes, it'll be
Okay,
faster, it'll be faster.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we switch it and then we'll give a 5-minute break and then
Yeah.
you look at it and then...
Yeah, I was going to look at during the presentation. So,
That's fine.
I'm going
Okay.
to switch him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so then
You
then
can't
we'll
put it
just
on
hold off on the approval for time being, and we're going to switch the order. We'll move the 1 PDR 2011-002A, but you're still going to need time to look at that one too, so...
I just had a question on this window, the closet window in the bathroom.
Maybe just take a 5-minute break now.
Maybe that's...
I think that's
Okay.
that's a better idea, so we're going to take a 5-minute break, so... ladder, 4 and 12 for
Only two, not
shingle
three.
roof.
But if you
but
like
what?
my
2?
bridge,
There's only two of us.
Well, oh,
it doesn't matter 'cause it's shifted.
Oh.
No, we aren't.
We're talking about
Recess.
I don't know if you would go with this door.
Okay.
Okay, we're on. So we're back on again. I think last Mr. Buladin had a motion. We're waiting for a second.
Are you comfortable?
Oh, I understand it.
You understand? Would you like to see it opened or not?
Oh, well, I'm not going to approve it. I don't like the way that the
Well,
the
then
ground
let's
plan.
let's
I
go
don't
ahead and
understand why we're-
I'll go ahead and open it. Franco, can you come in, please, and state your name and address, please?
No one else seems to have an issue, so I'm okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and board members. My name is Franco Naravian, 409 West Broadway, Glendale, California, 91204. I'm the architect on the project. I think it's a simple project. Basically, there is an existing detached garage that we're tearing down.
Right.
We have a new attached garage, and we're building on top of that. And the back portion center of the existing house. I did another rendering on the upper right-hand corner there. As you see, the addition really won't be visible from the street at all. The adjoining properties to this are on the one side is a existing very large two-story house. Across the alley is a condominium, I think 2 or 3-story condominium, and the back alley is all commercial. So I think we won't. I think it's designed well. Anyways, I don't think it would be a problem, but because of where it is, it won't have any impact on anyone.
I think Mr. Kai's concern, and she has a concern. That's why I opened it. And she
About?
had a concern about the roof layout.
Actually, the roof layout, I think I've tried to make it so that it blends in with the existing roof.
I think maybe it's trying too hard to be simple when it's not simple. It's got a lot of jogs and little slight differences in height that to me make it feel like you added on to the existing house. And so I'm kind of wondering if you've looked at it in a way where you can maybe even simplify it more or make the elements different enough where it looks like they're a different element that was originally part of the house, not an addition.
I see the problem that you're having is because the second story is offset. It's not a simple rectangle, and because of that, I couldn't put a simple roof. Now, the reason it's offset because I have to deal with a lot of other things such as setback for the garage and so there is really the other problem that I have. The second story had to be designed in such a way where we don't build over the existing bedrooms. So it's given the restrictions that I have, it's almost impossible to create a simple form. And because of the offset form, that's what creates, I think, the roof line that you're.
I think for me the problem is the front elevation because if I look at this, probably you'll never see it straight on. I mean,
Right,
granted, right?
right.
But you have this was the original roof.
Right.
And now we're adding on this little piece that
Correct.
doesn't look like it stylistically belongs. Maybe that this piece should be something more like this approach, where it looks like the house has more dimension to it, dynamic to it. And then you have all these little peaks that come up behind it that are slightly not
Right.
bowing together.
That's why I did the 3D to show that in reality you won't see in elevation view. You're absolutely correct. It looks a little bit not right, but in perspective, you know, because your eye level is only at 5 feet.
You're trying to say, well, this one I think looks great, but this is from the back. I mean, you're trying to say this one over here, you're not going to notice it.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe.
I tried pulling it forward, but it's not enough. It would have to really pull it forward, then it would really look like a 2-story house.
But like if you pulled this forward.
Right, and more. I would have to go more than that in order to be something substantial. Otherwise, it would look.
So it would be a piece that sits in here.
Yeah, it would look. I think we may have even looked at
You
something
had
like that. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to know if you had explored other options. I know that
Yeah.
you're very thorough in your designs,
it's-
but, you only see one, and so it's sort of like, well, maybe he thought you didn't think of all of the options, and
Right,
or maybe he
right.
didn't think it looked as odd as I think it looks, so, yeah, it's okay.
Do we have any more questions for the architect? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do.
Oh.
You're okay with the window change, the recommendations? that
Yes,
say-
absolutely.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
As long as we do 2 double hung windows, right? Is that what we mean? 2 double hungs next to each other.
It's 3, it's more than 3, isn't it? Isn't it more than 3?
Just 2.
On the south elevation?
I guess we do 2 single.
They really have to do the one come around the corner, because you're going to see all that with the alley swings the corner.
Right.
So, the only one you wouldn't have it on is the north elevation.
Right.
It seems like you need to do it on the rear also. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you looking at modifying condition number 2?
Yeah, I think all the second floors need to be single hung, or just because you're going to see them.
Okay, so
Maybe-
provide single double hung windows on all elevations?
On the addition, yeah.
On
You're gonna
all-
see it,
all
the
elevations of the addition?
Of the addition, yeah.
Except for the little tiny.
The ground floor already is. I mean, the only place it doesn't have it is on the second floor, and that's going to be the most visible.
Are these small ones fixed, or they operating? The tiny ones, do you want to make it all? Because you have some really
The
small
small-
ones up there.
Hold on. In the bathroom?
Are they fixed?
Back
You
bathroom?
need to come up.
Ring?
You'd want that operable anyway, wouldn't you?
It won't, so that's why I'm thinking that
You don't have
can
an
I keep
operable?
that one fixed? It's just like an 18 by 2 foot window in the back.
For the back bedroom?
Yes, to the back bedroom.
How about the?
It wouldn't make sense to make that a double hung.
Is there
And if I
reason-
eliminate it completely, then you have a blank wall with no
Is
window.
the reason it's so small?
Oh, well, because I'm
treating it as a vent,
trying
or
to
what?
center it, that's all. Otherwise, I
Make
can
it
split
bigger.
it into 2 windows and put something bigger. I'm okay with that,
I
too.
think you got to put a bigger window. I mean, wouldn't you like a bigger window?
Depending on what you're looking
Yeah.
at. So,
I mean, for light.
Looking at the back.
It's
no,
the bedroom.
back-
The bedroom.
the bedroom looking at the alley.
You have one little window.
Second floor.
No, I think you'd do a regular window.
I would think, yeah.
But I would have to move it. Do we agree? That
Is there a
it cannot be
wall
centered?
that's,
It'd be too low. Okay.
What?
All right, that's fine.
It'd be too low? It would be too crowded. What window are we talking about? I was talking about
The
this,
center small one on the rear elevation.
this
How
window?
about canceling that window to start
you
with?
make it
That
No,
way-
bigger?
That's okay, too, if
You
you
can't
want
really
to
get
just
it as low as the other windows.
No, but
That's
can't
the
we
Yeah,
make it?
then the proportions would be a little bit, the proportions would be,
It won't be double.
yeah,
hung.
off.
It'll be double hung. It would be.
And it wouldn't
If
be
he's gonna
double
put
hung.
his bed frame facing that wall, don't put that window.
I'm okay with not
Okay,
putting it. If you guys want to just take it out.
Why don't we
No, it needs
just,
to have a window. It needs to have a window there.
yeah, why don't we just leave it up to the architect and just,
That window, that's fine. We'll leave that one up to you. But I think the other ones need to be double.
That's fine.
right. Okay.
so
Remaining.
provide single double hung windows on all elevations of the addition with the exception of the small bedroom window on the
East face.
rear, on the east facade?
And within that, you can say,
Are we
if he
saying
wants to make it larger, he
this is going
could.
to a single window?
If it gets larger, it would want to be
It'll
double.
be double.
Oh, 2 windows,
Yeah, 2 windows with double hung.
because it said single double hung window.
Yeah, we just changed it.
Okay.
Yeah, double hung.
Okay, we still have the motion open?
Yeah.
I will second it,
Second.
with the conditions
You have a
noted.
motion and a second.
Okay, so Mr. Beladian made the motion, and Mr. Garagos made the second. This will be a roll call. Mr. Beladian,
Yes.
Mr. Garagos.
Yes.
Ms. Sakai,
Yes.
and Mr. Malikian.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right. All right, good luck. The second project, PDRB 2000, oh no, sorry. PDR 2011-002A, the sign program.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The next case is 2 PDR 2011-002-A. The applicant is proposing a sign program for a recently constructed commercial building located at the northeast corner of North Verdugo Road and Broadview Drive. The sign program consists of up to 6 marquee signs, 4 on North Verdugo and 2 on Broadview, and 4 wall signs, 2 on North Verdugo and 2 on Broadview. Additionally, non-illuminated window signs for tenant storefronts and doors are proposed. Address and identification signs are also proposed. The approximately 16,000 square foot project site is located, as I said before, in the northeast corner of North Verdugo Road and Broadview Drive. It is developed with an approximately 27,500 square foot retail medical office building. The majority of the retail space is located at the street level adjacent to both adjacent streets. The second and third floors of the building are medical offices, and parking is accessed off the alley east of the site. The sign program proposes a combination of marquee wall and window signs. Marquee signs are proposed on the marquees located between the first and second floors of the building. The location of these signs will be centered above the entrances to each of the tenant spaces. Window signs are proposed within the entry doors of the tenant spaces. A building address sign is proposed on the southwest corner of the building at the intersection, the street intersection. And then 4 wall signs are proposed on the second floor of the building. And an 8 square foot identification sign is proposed on the facade of the third floor of the building. The proposed sign program provides a rather narrow range of locations for marquee and wall signs, and specific locations for both the building address and the identification sign. The proposed sign program states that the landlord reserves the right to shift like-for-like square footage for future tenants from a designated location on an elevation to another. Staff suggests omitting that language from the sign program, as the marquee signs in particular are centered above the tenant entrances and provide some uniformity in their location. Window signs are permitted on the entry doors or the surrounding glass of each tenant space, not to exceed 25% of the windows.
Before you go, one comment back, the marquee sign centered with the door, entry door.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the city requirement, or is that what?
No,
That's what they're.
that's what they're proposing. Let's see.
Sorry.
That's okay. 20 window signs are they're proposing 25% of the window to which the sign is applied. This is actually more restrictive than the city sign regulations. We allow 25% on any window, and what they're saying is 25% on the glass doors, and the windows just adjacent to the glass doors. Staff's suggesting, however, for the ease of administrating the sign program, that regulations for window signs be the same and not more restrictive as the sign regulations. So we're suggesting that they be allowed window signage on the windows per what our code allows, not the more restrictive of what they're proposing. Do you understand that? Let me just review that. What they're proposing is, for instance, let's take this area here, this tenant space. They're proposing to allow window signs here and here, and here and here. 25% of the window area, and that's it. So no window signs on windows not adjacent to doors. our sign code allows 25% windows signed throughout. And for our administration, in terms of code enforcement and for looking at signs, we are recommending that the sign program just allow what our sign regulations allow. Yeah, I mean, with the current, under the current code. Yeah, whatever's allowed in the current
Does
code.
it also include the door? Does it also include the glass door as part of the 25%?
Right.
Whole space of it?
Right.
And those are interior to the building, not on top of the windows on the exterior. The window signage
Right.
is
Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the
Apply to
code
the
allows, we are recommending that that's what this sign program prescribes. While most of the signs are well located on the building, the address sign is located on the wall above the marquee, and staff is recommending that this sign be located in a different location of the building. I think it just crowds it a little bit too much. And then just for clarification purposes, no accessory ground or directional signs are proposed as part of the sign program. Although there's a monument sign erroneously labeled as marquee signs on page 3 of your sign program. No ground sign or directional sign is mentioned. So, should either of these types of signs be desired at some point, they would need to amend the presumably approved sign program to allow them. With regard to architectural style, the architectural style of the building is contemporary and contains a significant amount of glazing. The face of the marquee is painted red, as is a building feature located on the 3rd floor of the Verdugo Road facade. Sign programs are intended to provide a unified approach to signage for the entire project. The sign program proposed with regard to composition and scale achieves this intent. Additionally, the sign sizes proposed will enable legibility without producing an oversigned building. To architectural consistency, the sign program is proposing a range of fonts and colors, and those are listed in your staff report. And actually, I wanted to make sure that generically in the report they're called Snow White, Red, Silver, Blue, Black. As part of the sign program, they have samples of the actual colors. So it's not the overall generic anything red, it's the specific red found in the sign program. And then there were 4 fonts suggested as part of the sign program. Staff is suggesting that a condition be added to allow planning staff to permit additional colors if determined to be compatible with the building. And then also, with the exception of the Times New Roman font, the fonts are consistent with the building's contemporary style. Staff is recommending that the New Times Roman font be eliminated from the sign program since it's a more traditional style. And then, additionally, the sign program does not put parameters on the type of marquee signs, and staff is suggesting that these signs also be limited to the individually illuminated channel letters with or without logos, similar to the restrictions that they are proposing for their wall signs. In terms of quality material, the sign program does not mention raceways as a means of providing illumination for the proposed signs. Raceways detract from the appearance of the building, and staff is recommending that raceways should be concealed inside the building walls and not be allowed on the exterior wall to maintain the appearance of the building. Staff is recommending approval of the sign program with 9 conditions. I can go over those if you'd like. No? Okay. Then I would like to add, there were a number of letters I received that are on your desks. I also spoke with a couple people on the phone periodically over the past week or week and a half. And just to maybe clarify an issue, sign programs are not sign variances. Sign programs don't allow signs that would otherwise not be permitted in the code. Sign programs really serve to actually further restrict the types of signs and the characteristics of signs on multi-tenant buildings. So there was some misunderstanding that this application proposed sign variances which would allow signs that would not otherwise be allowed on the building, and that's not correct. This sign program will restrict further what signs can be placed on the building in order to, provide some unity in the signs on this building. So I hope to clarify that.
Okay. I don't have any cards, or, you know what? Sorry, I take it back. You want? Is it Nathan Simmons? Siemens. Would you like to come up and speak? If you can state your name and address, please.
Nathan Siemens, 44 West Bellevue Drive in Pasadena. We're the graphic design firm that did the signage package. And as far as I'm concerned, can see from the restrictions staff has put, and Peter has, Roger's worked on this, we're fine with all of those conditions.
Do you have any
We
questions?
concur with the staff recommendations.
Okay. I guess we don't have any questions. Thank you. Is it Joanne Smith?
My name is Joan Smith, and I live at 1295 Oak Circle Drive. I have lived there 51 years. I was born in this city. I have lived here all my life, other than college. I have seen a lot of changes in this city, one of which is an atrocity for all of us who live in the area, is this building. This building has a lot of names in our local area. It's probably one of the ugliest things we feel has been built. It's awful. Drive it by. My first comment is that we drive by all the time. I live on that street. Oak Circle is the same as Broadview. And we drove by that, and there was a picture on that dirt that showed the proposed building. That is not what we got, what the picture was. Now, I realize the building is there. Now we have to live with it. I'm here for the word of caution on this signage, because let's make sure we don't make this terribly ugly building any worse. Any restriction you can put on that makes it as attractive as possible is where we would like it to be headed. Across the street is H&S Paint, and I went there purposely to look, and they have very nice signage. Anawalt's been there as long as I have, and even their sign looks fine. So whatever you do in this decision, I would hope there's some overview as to what ends up on this building to make it as acceptable as possible to us in the area. When you drive around and you see some of the other buildings being built, I don't know how Glendale, and none of us in our area. And having lived here all my life, I'm a little disappointed that I'm the only one standing here, because it's been the topic of conversation around my neighborhood for the last couple of weeks, and nobody's here. And that's what's happening with government, I think. It just, nobody seems to care. And let's see what you can do to control this building to at least not make it any worse than it is, because I don't think there's a soul in the area that likes it. I mentioned the two across the street, so that's the reason I'm here. I have two. There have been many articles in the news press about this project before it was built. There's some nasty cartoons that were built. I have the two others from Mike Lawler, who you undoubtedly know in our area, and another one. This was from the weekly that says the design board is going to make sure that this is done as well as possible in the Locker Center Weekly. You're going to have some control. Please do.
Thank you. Okay, the public session is closed. Anyone wants to start?
I just have a couple of questions for staff, just to clarify what we're talking about. Is there anything within the sign program that would allow them to put signage on the north or east side? They're not proposing it now. Is there anything that would allow them to do it in the future?
An amendment to the sign program. Actually, I mean, in hindsight, as you asked that question, I said, ooh, I should have put up the other two elevations. The reason why I didn't was because there is no signage proposed on those two elevations.
Right.
The north elevation, which is basically a blank facade facing north, and the east facade facing the alley, there aren't any signs proposed, and if at some point they wanted to put something there, they would, in the very least, need to amend their sign program.
Now, does that amendment come back to DRB?
It does.
It does.
I don't know how they would go beyond the property line. That's their
Well,
property.
the north,
I'm just commenting. Maybe it's a painted sign. Maybe it's a painted sign. I don't know.
I think the north elevation is right on the property line. The east elevation has some
Right.
bit of variations in plane. I think it's set back a little bit from the alley, although I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure. So,
Yeah, I'm just really commenting. If it was, would it come back? And it does. Okay. Second thing was just to clarify what's happening on the ground level glass. Are you saying that we're not going to do the restriction here? We're just going to leave it to the city ordinance in terms of signage, or we're still going to have this restriction where it's just at the doors and not allowed elsewhere? I wasn't clear.
there, it's up to you. Yes.
I'm just
what the
clear
applicant,
what you were proposing.
Yeah,
what you were suggesting.
I maybe should have done a better job explaining. The applicants have suggested, or in their sign program, the applicants have proposed restricting window signs to the doors and the windows adjacent to the doors. Our sign ordinance regulations allow 25% of a window area to have window signs. There's some other regulations for window signs, but that's basically it. What staff is suggesting is bringing the proposed sign program, making the restrictions on the window signs for the sign program consistent with what is in our sign regulations currently, not more restrictive.
So you're saying let it be more lenient so they could have
Correct.
signage anywhere on that glass?
Correct.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
not attractive. Okay, okay. That's what I thought you said. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. Other than that, I think, it's obviously, I also live around the corner and have the same kind of feelings about the building, unfortunately. Yeah, so but I do think it's important that we sort of minimize and be very sensitive about the amount of signage, because it's a big building and it could have a lot of unexpected things happen. So I'm in agreement with the modifications that are proposed. I personally would like to see it go back to the restrictions for the door signs as proposed in the plan and not have it more lenient as a city ordinance. So other than that, I would go for approval.
Sabelati?
I don't have any comments. I'm fine with the staff comments. I'm kind of leaning like Mr. Giragos to go with the request with the owners to be restrictive on the as far as signage on the doors and the sides. Maybe that will make the neighborhood happier a little bit, having the freedom of putting signage all over. Beside that, I'm okay. I'm ready to approve it.
I think I have the same feeling about the glazing, as I would like to not see it all over the place on the glazing, and to keep it the way the applicant is proposing, to keep it around the door. And I just want to add to the condition number 6, relocate the building address sign to be on the street that the address is actually on. That would be important for life safety vehicles looking for the building. So that would be on Verdugo, correct? Yeah.
Okay. So
That's it.
All right. This building is probably one of the most amazing buildings built in Glendale. And
How do you find amazing? Define amazing to me.
probably the most amazing building that I'm amazed at how this building was approved in the beginning. I for sure was not one of the people who approved it. And we're not here to talk about the building. And I have to control myself to hold myself back and state exactly how I feel about the building. And I do live nearby, outside of the 500-foot radius, so I can speak about the project. When I see the signage, and the thought has gone into the signage, I feel the same way that the thought that went into designing this whole building itself. No consideration on the north side and how it's going to address the north elevation. Not even considering the neighborhood and the size and the scale of the building. The proposal, the sign proposal, I think it will really make everything worse. And the reason that I'm saying is, and I'll explain some of the areas that I've seen, and I'll do this as quickly as I can so we can get out of here, but I don't know if you guys have driven by this building. Putting the sign right on this face, this sits behind this frame, and unfortunately we don't have a three-dimensional, we have a photo of this. So, and putting a signage right around here behind there's only one way of seeing this. You're not going to be able to see this as you drive down or going up north. You'll probably see it going south, and that's how I see this. Then you got signs that are being placed without taking in consideration of what these elements are and not centering this, but centering it in between the, in center of the doors. Problem with that is that it's only looks right when you're looking at the elevation on the plan. But in reality, you have these braces that are coming, and you have these elements that are coming out of it. So by putting this signage right behind some of these braces and putting it against the wall and creating a box that this sign can be replaced by anything, I think that itself is some thought process that it really hasn't been. It's actually adding on to the mass and the collage of different things that are happening and trying to make this building look like a building. I think the signage needs to be very minimal. It needs to be as a background. It is unfortunate. I hate to do this, but and if I was a business owner and I was occupying the space, I would want to have the signage as large as possible to be able to be most visible amongst all these things that are happening in this building and trying to locate where you're going. But it is unfortunate that we're dealing with the building that it's given to us, and the only thing that we can control now is the signage. So what I would want to see, rather than a box being attached to the building, and I'm assuming that in this box, they're going to be able to replace this plexiglass or something that it's going to go in that box, right? That's how I see this.
no,
There's no box signs.
no, there are no box signs.
There's no box signs.
Well, what is this? I mean, is this like individually cut letters? Is that what they are?
They will as
That's not how I read this. It's a box that it's going to be.
in the sign program. They have.
Yeah, that's not yeah. Well, I had to clarify that because I was under the impression it was not boxes. So.
But that's how I see it.
I think it's a side view of a letter.
Right, that's what.
So it will be aluminum channel letters that will be attached.
That's what they're describing. It looks like a box.
I don't want to interrupt you.
No. I just want to
No, that was important to me. I
I
was told it
think
wasn't.
rather than being a box, I think it needs to be a very thin aluminum cutouts of letters that are suspended. It becomes like if you look at the profile, you see the thin profile of the just like maybe a half an inch thick letter rather than this giant box that is sitting on this canopy, and it's just basically these cutout letters, just be stencils of letters that are just.
So it would have to
Maybe
be
they should stay away from the canopy total.
And I don't know,
Because
but
if you look
the
at
way,
it,
yeah, the way I see it is that it is very. I wouldn't even be able to even start designing a signage for this building because it's just so difficult with what I'm starting with and where I would put the signage. But the way that it's being proposed, putting it behind the braces, and these letters that are just being boxed, that are, I don't know.
I should ask because maybe they're putting it on top, right in front of the
Well,
braces.
part of it is going to go right on the canopy, but this canopy is a C channel that is suspended with these cables, and it doesn't have any. It doesn't have a. I don't think it has a surface on top of this canopy. I mean, it's transparent. I mean, you can see through. So I don't know if there's a structure over this canopy. I think it's a channel, and then these kickers come out to the building, and then these braces are just suspended and supporting this thing.
what if you hang it from the canopy bottom because it's such a high?
I just think that the letters need to be as minimal, and it just be letters. It won't be any boxes. It won't be anything that is attached to the building. It cannot. Having said all of this, I guess I'm taking my frustration out on these signage that is in front of me. So
Which is absolutely your prerogative to do.
I appreciate you telling me this because I feel really bad. But
Can we just clarify, though?
Yeah, if I can jump in for a moment. The way I'm reading in the report or in the submittal, it's page 15. A sheet that you'd referred to earlier. It does seem, in fact, that the location of the cables are missing from that section, attachment A. It's hard to know. Perhaps you were at the building today. I wasn't.
I drive by it every day 4 times.
Oh, right. Well, I apologize for that. It's good that none of us were here during that time, but we all have to see it all the same. In any case, it's not clear to me, just looking at the photographs, that where they've located the letters towards the front of the canopy would actually conflict with the rods.
See, the thing is, it's already divided with these cables, so they're already set. I mean, if they were proposing these signage to be hung from under the canopy, then I would say it can be placed adjusted according to where the door is. But they're actually putting it on top of the canopy. So if they're putting it, they have these braces, they have these divided sections that I think that's going to be more prominent as far as.
Okay, so the question that I have for you as a board is you could provide conditions on the proposal so that you could say that if it's okay that the signage is in front of those tie rods, if that's okay with you, then fine. Otherwise, if you prefer that it be suspended from the canopy, that can be a condition that can solve your concern.
Well, actually, if you look at
I think
the last
suspended, it
door,
gets too loaded on the
it's
left
too
side.
low.
Yeah.
It's too low on the
Because I
left
thought
side.
about that too.
And
How the
then-
braces
and
don't
then
match. with
You
the
got these
panels.
signage, building identification, it's tucked right
that we're
under the
moving.
cable.
Moving that one.
Well, okay, I mean, I'm just saying, like this one that we're moving as well, but it's like halfway under, and it's going on a curved area. So does that mean that the letter is going to curve? Or is it going to be flat, and it's going to be like...
Well, typically with a curved area, and you know as well as I do that if you have an individual letter, you can follow the curve because you have individual letters. You couldn't do that with a can sign, but you can do that with an individual letter sign.
Tell with this, I mean, I just see a section profile of this thing. I can't really tell. Is it going to go on a raceway? Is it going to get individually attached to the wall?
That's our understanding, but the designer is also here if you have those questions for the designer.
Well,
Please get the one question answered, just so we're clear. This program does not allow for the boxes with the plastic. Is that
Well,
somewhere near that we could?
Right.
Where does it say that?
On page 3,
okay.
number 4, it says type wall signs to be individually illuminated channel letters and or logos mounted to a dimensional background.
Okay.
Now, what we're recommending is the same thing for the marquee signs. That was one of the recommendations that I went over.
But the marquee signs would be the 2 feet in height and the because it says wall signs are 2 feet in height, marquee signs are 11 inches in
11
height.
inches, yeah, because that's what the dashed sign areas indicate, and I think the wall signs actually say 2 feet.
Okay, maybe those signage issues.
I guess I have a lot of issues, so I should just
I mean, I
stop
think the metal
talking.
cut, the metal cut, I think would be nice on the awning. We just have to, it'd be externally illuminated. It'd be externally.
Maybe eliminate.
I guess I have a problem
Wall
with
signage.
creating volume, creating mass with the letters. That's my problem. I think I want the letters to be as thin, as transparent as possible. And, you know, if
So when you're coming
they
up the
need-
street on a glance, you're not seeing the side of all these.
Exactly. So you actually standing in front of building, it becomes like more of a transparent, it's like stenciled out letters. And if they need light, so maybe they can have some LED lights or something that is kind of placed under them, so it kind of shines up to them. I don't know. I really don't
Maybe
know.
Reverse channel illumination.
maybe
Just a
eliminate
reverse channel
eliminate the wall sign just completely.
I really don't want wall.
I mean, you just have no. Put the building name. Put the building name and then have the retail signage, and then you don't. And then take out that whole thing.
The applicant would like to speak
Yes,
again.
can you
Hold on.
please, if you,
I mean,
Why don't we put the
can you state your name and address again, please?
Nathan Siemens,
Okay.
44 West Bellevue in Pasadena.
If you have something to add.
No, let's make a suggestion. Let's get rid of the marquee signs as they are standing on top of the marquee, and rather than hanging below, because we can't, and I agree with you, the northernmost doors are really too low. Why don't we do them a non-illuminated, stencil cut, and put them in the channel above the doors?
Is that going to be tall enough?
I agree 100%. I live in La Cañada. I pick up people at that building, at the bus stop across the street all the time. We're doing interior planning in the building, and you even see the mess that is. The idea, though, and the ownership is in Orange County at this point, the second owner of the building, or third or fourth, whatever it is. They're just needing some signage on the building for tenants that are moving in, particularly the pharmacy that's there. I think what we can recommend to them is what we collectively think will take care of the signage program for the building. I would suggest that we put stencil cut lettering, and I'd probably do them in a solid color acrylic of some kind, so they'll stand out against the red in the channel above the doors. That'll solve anything hanging above and below. Also be aesthetically pleasing, I hope.
So it wouldn't be illuminated.
Non-illuminated, just stencil lettering, so it's a daylight deal. Now, as far as the building ID is concerned, I think that needs to be a halo lit.
The channel is about
channel
8
lettering.
inches or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be anything more than, here I am.
yeah, but it will be enough.
What about height?
There's nothing is enough. If I was a shop owner, I'd want 12 feet by 25 feet that says I'm
I know
here.
the question we're coming is it really? Then let's not put anything there.
Well, that's an option as well. The option that you guys have with regard to the code in Glendale with the 25% is to allow the retail people on the ground floor to put their names in the windows. I have a problem with that because I think the building is really, 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 really confusing as it is. And if we start slapping crap, excuse me, I see that? Slapping stuff in the windows, there's not going to be any consistency unless we provide them a graphic program to do that. I think restricting it to the door and the side lights takes care of the confusion in the glass on the ground floor. The only place I can really feel, based on what I'm hearing, that the signage would work is inside the channel. So that in my mind, that would solve that.
I think it's
You know
not
what?
suggestion.
I think if we're going to do that, I really would want to see it, because at the end of the day, if that's what you're proposing, I don't think it's even worth putting it in.
Okay.
So I
That's what I'm
think,
saying.
Do we
I
want to
think it's-
eliminate it
I
entirely
think-
then?
No, I think if that's what you're proposing, I would suggest continuing this. Why don't you go do your study
And
homework?
we could do it to a date certain.
And then the date certain.
Yeah, so it would be
have
a
you
long
come back
extension.
with that option. I would like to see that, because I think by the end of the day, whoever is going to give you the approval for you to say that, I think they're going to say probably no, because that channel is about that big.
I appreciate
and
that.
Putting the letters in there, it's...
Well, there's a
probably
building
gonna be
over
wrong.
on Ventura Boulevard at Woodman, a brand-new one. There was a bank in the corner before the earthquake, and they've got them in the channel.
And
it's not
I have
huge.
no problem with that. I think it's fine. I think if we can fit it into the channel, I think it's fine. I think it'll be part of the details that it's there. So I
Solve your
think
concern about that?
I think at some level it solves my concern, but I do want to see it. I don't want to say
I
yes
actually
or
would
no.
be supportive of it because I think that awning is annoying to begin with. And I think if it had letters in it, it would have a reason for being.
I agree.
So I'm sort of a supportive.
If I may add a couple of things before you go ahead and continue it, while we really appreciate the applicant's desire to minimize the signage, we absolutely agree. And we agree with the comments the community has made here tonight and otherwise, and we couldn't agree more with minimizing the signage. However, when the tenants, hopefully tenants will move into this building. The building is there. We don't want it to be empty. I think we can maybe agree on that point too. We as staff have an understanding that the tenants, if it's just painted 6-inch, because you'll only be able to fit 6-inch letters in that 8-inch space, 6-inch letters that are not illuminated, we would contend will very quickly not be sufficient, and then this item would be back before you because as staff, we wouldn't be able to vary from that.
That's
so
what I'm worried
as,
about.
So as you're looking at this, please be mindful of that. Because that would be very restrictive. The other piece we want to mention as we take a second look at, or third or fourth, because we've looked at this quite a bit, at the requirements on page 3, master sign program, if I could call your attention for a moment to item 7 on that sheet that talks about informational signs. The text here says, in lieu of window signs, the tenant may be allowed one non-illuminated informational sign not to exceed 4 square feet. What Roger presented earlier was that informational signs should really be outside of the sign program. What we're finding is that some previously approved sign programs, particularly in relation to some informational signage on like doors like hours of operation, that kind of thing, call for appointment, that kind of thing. If that provision was in there, that would also create a situation where we would have to come back to you to ask you if a tenant wants to put hours of operation in, 3-inch letters, on the door. So we don't want to get into a situation where the sign program is so restrictive that it's not workable. I just want to remind everybody present that the purpose of a sign program is to identify a coherent and consistent approach to signage for a building that limits the signage so that everyone knows what the signage will look like, where it will be located, but to have it to be flexible enough so that as businesses move in and out, they can operate with, and we can work with them within the sign program and not have to come back to you. So I just wanted to clarify that because when everyone goes home and the tenants start moving in, they will come to us and we don't want to have to come back to you.
Within that idea, are you recommending a change to number 7?
We are recommending that we would suggest that provision be completely stricken, and if not stricken, it shouldn't be in lieu of window signs.
So they could do what they want within the scope of the limit that they can do around the doors.
Yeah, I think the 25% of the window would cover that, and there doesn't need to be an additional provision of informational signs. So
unless they widen that what is it, I-beam or C-channel there?
So remove the
C-channel?
existing channel and replace it?
No, not replace it, to somehow to add a fake
I don't know if I want to make it
channel
bigger.
in front of it, make it a little bit wider.
You know what I like about the
Depends.
idea is that if it had an awning, like if it was a more traditional building and it had an awning, that would be about the size of the valance and it would have lettering on it. So in some ways, it's kind of consistent with what you might have in another scenario. So
Because it's
I
really
think it's a very
thin.
good suggestion. Very good suggestion.
I think it solves
Yeah.
the adornment problem. We
Because
don't have earrings
that
hanging
thing now
all
that you're looking at it, that 8-inch channel, it's pretty thin for a building this big. Maybe if it was a little bit widened by the band, I mean, I don't know.
Wanna
I
make
don't like.
things
I mean,
wider.
Why are you making it bigger?
The big issue with the building, I think, is any visibility coming up Verdugo, and the fact that the building is set on the property line and everything is running horizontally.
It's like on
you're
your
not going to
face.
see it anyway,
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah.
Which is why the location of the address is on that corner versus where it is, so at least you can ID that it's 3600. The other scenario, as I see it, is that we eliminate any kind of the eyebrow signage and then restrict the tenant signage as far as an identification to the glass, the 25%, in the glass, and then restrict it to a vinyl film or something like that so that it doesn't, isn't impacting additional elements in the building that it has already too many of.
And could some of that, could an area for the channel be under the awning but against the building, so it was sort of tucked underneath and worked in with the awning?
And the problem is, and that's a great idea, the problem is once you go up
Once you
Verdugo,
go up the
that
higher
north,
side.
Problem
that
is
north
the retail
elevation.
floor and the above has no relation
Yeah.
architecturally.
Okay, we're not going to fix that with the signage.
And just to
Around the
clarify
building.
it,
Giant sign, maybe.
all of the tenant signs that are above the first floor are individually
Yeah.
illuminated, so it's very, very tasteful.
I appreciate
All
your
right.
suggestion. I think it's a great solution.
Well, let's talk amongst ourselves and we'll decide on something. Thank you. Before I opened my mouth, everybody was okay with this, and now everybody has an issue. So maybe I should have kept my mouth closed.
No, I think it's a good point, and I think it's a good.
And you,
So I think I would like to have, yes.
Just one more comment on the master sign program on page 2. The very last condition they're suggesting is that upon vacating the space, the departing tenant is responsible for removal of their signs. That's fine if they want to have that in their lease. It probably shouldn't be in a city approval because we're not going to enforce that.
There's nothing in the code that requires a tenant to remove something if they leave. I'd like to make a motion, we continue this to a date certain
Okay.
with the recommendations.
Which date?
I don't know, what's next date?
What's today? Today is the 21st. August 4th.
Joint meeting.
Joint meeting. So
You able to prepare it by that time? Whatever-
August, is it 18th?
Whatever the time. whatever it
August
is.
18th. Yeah, 18. Thank you.
18?
August 18.
That's my motion. See if
Have a
anybody
second?
salutes.
A second.
And this is only to provide additional information with these
can we
revised
have
options.
oh, it's too late.
What?
Ask the applicant to provide like some dummy signage. Like a 3D.
Like versus just a box.
Well, I
with an
think
outline area?
we would want to see. I would want
I
to
would-
see an actual rather than just a section cut out. Just a kind of a conceptual 3D sketch or something to kind of give me a visualization
sample.
of where it is. It would be ideal if you can place those sign on the actual photo background to kind of see exactly what they're going to look like for us to not a big one, just take the photo and just hand sketch it in or something, and just so we
Photoshop
can
it in.
Photoshop it in, or good old Photoshop.
And if you have cases where you like the signage and you're trying to illustrate an example,
Oh, just
bring
for-
pictures of
yeah.
those. It'd be helpful.
All right. Do we have a second?
Yeah, seconded.
Yes.
Can we have a roll?
I'm sorry, who
Mr.
made the
Garagos made the motion
Mr.
to
okay.
continue. I seconded it.
Motion was made to continue this item to August 18, 2011. This will be a roll call. Mr. Garagos?
Yes.
Ms. Sakai?
Yes.
Mr. Baladian?
Yes.
Mr. Malikian?
Yes.
Great. Motion carries 4-0. We have one set of minutes to approve. They're
I've gone through them. I don't have a problem. I think we covered everything correctly. And please pay attention to the first one, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that everything is okay on that, because that was the second time came back with the conditions. That was not transferred properly, and I want to make sure that we approve it with, that was Chris Baxter's, the window thing, that it wasn't translated properly or transcripted properly.
okay. So is this the correct?
I believe it is correct.
Well, I voted no, so you guys tell me.
Just want to make sure when we
Is
sign
there a
it.
motion to approve the minutes?
I haven't read them yet.
Sorry.
I haven't read them yet.
You're late today, aren't you?
Well, they weren't provided on the table, and they weren't provided to me in a package. I didn't even know we had a meeting. Do we have a plan that has window number 1 outlined?
A plan?
Well, it says trim and sill details on all windows, with the exception of window number 1.
Yeah, but that's,
Isn't it just a large picture window? But
those are our conditions, so the
We didn't even
conditions
number
go
them.
with the drawings that,
Okay.
all right, I don't have that.
yeah, these are just conditions that we put in.
I would add the existing house.
While she's reading, I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Is there a second?
I think condition number 1 should add that the trim and sill detail on windows,
No, we can't
You're right.
add it.
well, around both houses, the existing and the new.
Then you're adding something that we didn't talk about. We specifically opened the case up to talk about the front unit. And there was a clarification for the front unit, if I recall correctly.
Trim and such as all.
I don't think we went back to the
Back
rear
in.
unit.
Wasn't it the whole case?
No, it's matched on the new accessory structure, so it's the front and the back.
Okay.
Trim and sill details on all windows, with the exception of window 1, should be provided around the house and should be matched on the new accessory structure.
Yeah, okay.
So that's both, right? Does that mean both?
Well, we were discussing only strictly the windows in the front, and
House.
that wasn't clear for the front unit.
Right, but I'm saying the trim is
Yeah.
going to be on all the windows. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that's clear, because it should be provided around the house, the existing house.
Is there a second on the motion or on the approval of the minutes?
I wasn't here.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Again, I wasn't here. What do you want me to do? See it
Read the notes. Review the tape.
written on lips. I think she isn't. She seconded it? No,
No, she's working on it.
I wasn't here. What do you want me to do?
Okay. I second the minutes to be approved as written.
Okay, this will be a roll call. Mr. Garagos?
Yes.
Ms. Sakai?
Yes.
Mr. Baladian? Mr. Malikian?
Yes. I guess we're adjourned.